There is a 7-year-old Rhodesian Ridgeback named Atlas who does something every single time his owner, a divorce attorney named Miriam, who has spent 15 years learning to read people for a living, brings a new client home for dinner. He does not bark. He does not growl. He simply walks, slowly and deliberately, to the center of the room, lowers himself to the floor between Miriam and the guest, and stays there like a warm, breathing wall. Miriam has laughed it off for years, but Atlas is not confused. He is not being rude. He is doing his job, and science is only now catching up to what he already knows. Your dog has been quietly protecting you from people you haven't even noticed yet. Not with teeth or noise, with something far more powerful than that. For generations, we have explained this away. We call it a psychic sixth sense. We say our dogs pick up on bad energy or read some invisible aura surrounding a stranger. It is a comforting story, one that makes our dogs feel magical and slightly mysterious. But the truth, pulled from the most advanced brain imaging and behavioral science happening in labs right now, is far more astonishing than any myth we ever invented. Your dog is not running on magic. They are running on something scientists call the loyalty protocol. Through a neurological process called third-party affective evaluation, your dog is silently auditing every person who comes near you. They are tracking intent, measuring kindness, detecting lies, and judging the character of strangers based entirely on how those strangers treat you. Not how they treat the dog. You. Think about that for just a moment. Your dog, the same creature who loses their mind over a squeaky toy, has been running a constant, sophisticated background check on the humans in your life. And they have been doing it without you ever asking. To understand how this is even possible, we need to start at the beginning. We need to look at what dogs can actually see when they look at a human face. For decades, scientists assumed dogs were simple creatures, guided by smell and reflex and the hope of a treat. Researchers at the University of Vienna decided to test something very specific. They wanted to know if a dog could tell the difference between a human who makes an honest mistake and a human who is actively, intentionally lying. 2 opaque buckets sit in a room. A treat is hidden in one. A human communicator watches this happen, then points the dog toward the correct bucket. The dog follows the tip. Easy. Then the experiment changes. While the communicator is watching, another person secretly moves the food to the second bucket. The communicator knows the food has moved, and still they look at the dog and point to the empty bucket. They lie. In a separate version, the communicator leaves the room before the food is moved. When they return, they point to the original bucket, because they genuinely believe the food is still there. They are wrong, but they are honest. The dogs knew the difference. Not some of them, most of them. When the communicator had been out of the room and simply made an honest mistake, the dogs often forgave the error and followed the pointing finger anyway. They seemed to understand that the person just didn't have the right information. But when the communicator had watched the food move and still pointed to the empty bucket, the dogs shut down. They ignored the liar. They went with what their own eyes had told them. Only 29% chose the empty bucket when the communicator had deliberately misdirected them. The dogs didn't just notice the wrong answer. They noticed the intent behind the wrong answer. They understood that this person had seen the truth and chosen to hide it. And they devalued that person on the spot. This is not a trick. This is not learned behavior from a training session. This is your dog possessing what scientists call meta-representational capacity, the ability to build a mental model of what another mind knows and then judge that mind for what it chooses to do with that knowledge. We used to think only humans and a small number of great apes could do this. We were wrong. Atlas has been doing this every night Miriam brings someone new through the door. He is not reading auras, he is reading people. And what he does with that information, what he does when he watches someone be unkind to the person he loves, is where the science becomes almost unbearably beautiful. That story is coming, but first, we have to go somewhere most people never think to look. We have to go inside the room where the loyalty protocol was first proven. Your dog has never once eaten a meal for free. Every bite of food they accept from a stranger, they are paying for. The question is what currency they use, and the answer will change the way you see them forever. A team of researchers at Kyoto University, led by Hitomi Chijiwa and Kazuo Fujita, designed one of the most quietly devastating experiments in the history of animal behavior. They wanted to know something specific and almost philosophical. Would a dog penalize a human for being unkind to their owner, even when the dog itself had nothing to gain from the interaction and nothing to lose by staying neutral? 54 dogs were brought into the study. Each dog watched a scene play out in front of them, a scene involving their person and a stranger. Picture it exactly as it happened. You are sitting in a chair. Your dog is nearby. On one side of you sits a neutral stranger who simply looks at the floor, taking no action at all. On your other side sits an actor. In front of you is a clear container holding something useless to a dog, a roll of vinyl tape. You struggle to open it. In the first version of the experiment, you turn to the actor and ask for help. The actor steps forward, holds the container steady, and lets you open it. Helpful, kind, cooperative. In a second version, you struggle, but you don't ask for help, and the actor simply turns away. No harm done. But in the third version, the one that carries all the weight, you struggle, you turn to the actor, you ask clearly for their help, and the actor turns their back, flatly, coldly. They refuse you. They do nothing while you sit there, having been rejected and dismissed in your own home. Immediately after, both the actor and the neutral stranger extend an open hand toward the dog, offering a piece of high-value food. No eye contact, just the gesture. In the helper condition, the dogs showed no strong preference. In the control condition, same thing. But in the non-helper condition, where the actor had just refused to help you, the dogs turned away from them. Deliberately, consistently. They chose the food from the neutral stranger and left the unkind actor's hand empty. A dog turns down free food to make a moral statement. You have to sit with that. Calories are not abstract to a dog. Food is survival. It is ancient, biological, bone-deep important. The drive to eat is not something you train away. It is wired into every living creature at a level far below thought. And yet, these dogs looked at an outstretched hand holding something delicious and chose to walk away because the hand belonged to someone who had been cruel to you. Their loyalty to you was literally stronger than their hunger. Not metaphorically, biologically, provably. Scientists call this a negativity bias, and it reveals something profound about how the canine mind is built. The dogs didn't overwhelmingly run toward the helper. They overwhelmingly punished the one who caused harm. In the wild, this distinction matters enormously. Missing a chance to bond with a helpful individual is a missed opportunity, but failing to identify someone dangerous or uncooperative is a threat to the whole pack's survival. Your dog has spent tens of thousands of years sitting by human fires, and in that time, they developed a social intelligence so precise, so finely tuned, that they can map the moral landscape of a room by watching a single interaction that doesn't even involve them. They are gathering intelligence about the people in your world so that they can protect you from the ones who would do you harm. Somewhere in the world right now, there is a dog pressing their nose against a cold window, watching for a car that hasn't turned the corner yet. They know the sound of that engine from 3 blocks away. They know the weight of those footsteps on the porch. They have been tracking the arrival of their person since the moment that person thought about coming home. This is not a coincidence. This is not conditioning. This is something much older and much more beautiful. And this capacity, this obsessive, whole-body attention to the one human they have chosen, is the same force that makes them turn away from the hand that was cruel to you. This is the loyalty protocol. And the deeper we go into the science, the more it looks less like animal behavior and more like love with a biological proof. But here is what makes it even stranger, even more breathtaking. Dogs do not just judge kindness and cruelty. They are also, quietly and constantly, evaluating who around you is actually capable of helping you at all. Your dog knows whether the person standing next to you can handle what comes next. They may not know it in words, but their brain knows. The same research group that uncovered the kindness and cruelty experiments went one step further. They showed dogs two people performing a simple task, opening a transparent container to retrieve an object inside. One person did it easily, efficiently, without hesitation. The other fumbled, struggled, and ultimately gave up. After watching both demonstrations, the dogs were shown a new container. This one held food. The dogs who had watched both actors then had to decide who to approach, who they believed could actually open it and get them what they needed. The choice was overwhelming. They turned to the competent one. They physically oriented toward the person who had already proven they could do the job. And in a finding that surprised even the researchers, female dogs were significantly better at this evaluation than male dogs. The scientists believe this has a deep evolutionary explanation. In a natural pack, a smaller female has less access to resources through strength alone, so she develops something sharper, a hypersensitive ability to read a room, to predict what another individual is capable of doing, and to position herself accordingly. Your dog is not just asking whether someone is kind. She is asking whether someone is capable. She is running a competence assessment on the humans in your environment every single day. Now we need to look at what is actually happening inside their brain when they do all of this. Because the neuroscience is where this story stops being remarkable and starts being staggering. Neuroscientist Gregory Burns at Emory University spent years training dogs to lie perfectly still inside an fMRI machine without sedation, just so he could watch their brains respond in real time. What he found reshaped everything we thought we knew. When a dog looks at a human face, a specific area in their left temporal lobe activates, not the same area that responds to dog faces, a different, dedicated area. Their brains have literally evolved a region specifically built to process us, to read our expressions, to decode what we are feeling from the tiny shifts in our eyes and brows and mouths. They are not guessing at our emotions. They are reading them with specialized hardware that exists for no other purpose. Deep in that same brain lives a region called the ventral caudate nucleus, dense with dopamine receptors, the part of the brain most associated with pleasure, reward, and motivation. The cynics used to say that dogs only love us because we feed them. The brain scans ended that argument permanently. When dogs were trained to associate specific hand signals with either a food reward or social praise from their owner, the reward center of their brain responded more strongly to the praise. Not in some dogs, in the majority. The neurobiology shows that for most dogs, the approval and presence of their person is a more powerful reward than food. Your scent alone, separated from your body, placed in a room, causes that same reward center to light up in a way that no other scent does. Not another dog's scent, not a stranger's, yours. You are literally mapped in their brain as the greatest reward they have ever known. And this is what fuels the loyalty protocol. When a dog watches their human interact with someone, Their brain does not stay calm and observational. Researchers recorded what happened in dogs' brains when they watched their owner engage in a social interaction with a third party. The amygdala, the ancient emotional center, showed significant activation. The insular cortex, involved in empathy and the sensing of others' inner states, fired. And the hypothalamus, one of the most primitive and powerful regions of the brain, showed the strongest response of all. These structures do not activate when a dog is watching something neutral or unimportant. They activate during moments of emotional significance and potential threat. Your dog's brain treats your social interactions as high-stakes events. They are not watching casually. They are experiencing those moments alongside you. Atlas, pressed flat to the floor between Miriam and a stranger, is not performing a habit. His brain is monitoring that stranger the same way a security system monitors a door. He is watching for the shift in tone, the flicker of dismissal, the small coldness that humans sometimes miss entirely in their own exhaustion and distraction. He notices because he is built to notice. He was built for nothing else. And the deeper their love for you, the more fiercely this system engages. Research measuring the strength of the attachment bond between a dog and their owner found something beautiful and logical. Dogs with the most secure, deeply bonded relationship to their human showed the strongest protective responses during social evaluation. Their boycott of the unkind stranger is not a general policy. It is a fiercely personal one. It exists only for you. Because when you feel the sting of rejection, something happens in your dog's brain that mirrors it. Through a process called interspecific motor resonance, their mirror neurons fire in response to your emotional state. They don't just observe your hurt, they simulate it inside themselves. They feel what you feel, and then they act. There is one more piece of this story, one more layer that reveals just how much this is not about what they can get, but about who they have decided to be. Your dog cannot be bought. A researcher named Jim McGetrick at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna designed a beautifully simple experiment to test something philosophers have argued about for centuries. Is love transactional? Does loyalty follow reward? Dogs were placed in a situation where a human partner pressed a button that dispensed food for the dog over and over. Generous, repeated, unmistakable kindness. Then the roles flipped. The dog had a button. Pressing it would give food to the generous human. And most dogs simply didn't press it. They failed to reciprocate in any consistent, meaningful way. At first, this sounds disappointing. And then you realize what it actually means. Dogs are not keeping a ledger. They are not tallying favors, calculating debts, or deciding whom to love based on who has fed them the most. A stranger can shower your dog with treats every day for a year, and your dog will happily eat every single one. But that stranger will not earn a place inside the loyalty protocol. They will not be elevated to the status of someone worth defending or worth returning kindness to. The loyalty your dog gives you is not a transaction. It is not something they calculated based on your generosity or your consistency or your training record. It is a biological vow. It was given completely, without negotiation, and it sits in a part of them that food cannot touch. This is why the Kyoto study is so important. The actor who refused to help you could have offered your dog a steak. And your dog, who has accepted food from strangers their whole life with wild, tail-wagging gratitude, would have looked at that steak and walked away. Not because the food wasn't real, because the person wasn't worthy. Think about what it means to be loved like that. Not earned, not conditional, not adjusted based on your worst days or your most distracted weeks, or the times you came home too tired to play. Their loyalty exists before you deserve it, and it remains after any reason to give it has passed. They chose you with a ferocity that no amount of money or meat or positive reinforcement from anyone else can redirect. And they spend every day of their lives quietly, patiently, invisibly proving it. The next time you are out in the world and your dog goes still at your side, refusing a treat from a hand that felt wrong, pressing their body gently but firmly between you and a stranger, trust that. Do not apologize for them. Do not pull their leash and say, "Sorry, they're usually so friendly." They are being friendly. They are being the truest kind of friend there is, one who watches what you cannot see, feels what you are too polite to name, and uses the only language they have to protect you from the source of it. Honor that. Honor them. It is evening now. Miriam is home. The client has long since gone. The overhead lights are off, and one small lamp is throwing gold across the living room floor. Atlas is beside her on the couch, pressed the full length of his body along her leg, breathing slowly. His eyes are half closed. He is not sleeping. He is just close. He is doing what he has always done, staying within reach of the one person who is the entire center of his world. Miriam has lived a complicated life. She was a daughter before she was a lawyer. She was a wife before she was divorced. She has known cities and apartments and courtrooms and grief and the specific quiet of an empty house at 2 a.m. Her story stretches behind her for decades, full of chapters she has nearly finished and chapters she has not yet opened. Her world is vast and complicated and full of people and events and decisions that ripple out in ways she will never fully trace. Atlas's world is 1 room wide. It is the length of her arm, the sound of her breathing, the weight of her hand resting on his back. Everything he has ever felt that mattered, every moment of joy, every moment of comfort, every sunrise worth waking up for, fits inside one human being. You are that person for your dog. You are their entire story, not a chapter, the whole book. And right now, while they are still here, while their head is still heavy and warm in your lap, you are living inside the most important pages they will ever know. Dogs do not live as long as we wish they would. This is the one fact about them that never gets easier, no matter how many times the world makes you sit with it. But that brevity is not a tragedy. It is a kind of concentrated devotion that very few living things are ever asked to give. Every year they spend with you contains what most of us spread across decades. They love harder because they have less time. They stay closer because they know, somewhere below thought, that close is precious, and that staying is not something they can guarantee forever. So before this video ends, before you scroll to something else, I want to ask you to do one thing. Right now, not tomorrow, not after dinner, right now. Go find your dog. Sit down on the floor next to them if you can. Let them smell your hands. Put your palm flat against their side and feel them breathe. Don't say anything. Don't ask anything of them. Just be there, in the exact same quiet way they have been there for you. In every room, through every version of your life, without asking why. That is not a small thing. That is everything they ever wanted. Tell me in the comments, has your dog ever refused to warm up to someone, and did you later discover they were right? I want to read every single one of those stories, because every one of them is proof of what we just uncovered together. If this video changed the way you see your dog, share it with someone who loves theirs. And if you believe that dogs deserve to be understood the way they understand us, subscribe to the Soulful Dog, because this community was built for people exactly like you. Next time, we are going to look at something even the most devoted dog owners have completely misunderstood. What your dog actually experiences during the hours they are alone, and why the truth of it is both harder to hear and more hopeful than anything you have been told before. Don't leave yet. We are just getting started.